WLI is a testament to our commitment to supporting women in research, empowering them to pursue academic excellence. Today we celebrate their aspirations, achievements, and the generosity of those who believe in their potential. To commence this special occasion on an auspicious note, we begin with the invocation.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே 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 வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் சுஜலாம் சுஃபலாம் மலயஜ ஷீதலாம் சஸ்யஷ்யாமலாம் மாதரம் वन्दे मातरम् शुभ्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी फुल्लकुसुमितद्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे वन्दे मातरम्.
I also take this opportunity to welcome all our guests who have joined us online for this event. It is now my privilege to invite Professor Ashwin Mahalingam, Dean, Office of Alumni and Corporate Relations, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. Okay, excellent. Morning, everyone. Happy Women's Day to everyone. Welcome to this event. Also, welcome to GDS, Rohini, Chinu, if, yeah, there you are. Hi. So, well, good evening, I guess to all of you. This year or this past December, every December we have these reunions. So this past December we had the reunion of the 1964 batch. So the reunions are in multiples of 5 years. So we had a bunch of reunions, but one of the reunions was the 1964 batch, which was the first ever batch that graduated from IIT Madras. IIT Madras was established in 1959. That's when the first intake happened. It was a 5-year undergraduate program. 64, the first batch graduated. Very enthused group, I think 30, 40 people or maybe even a few more landed up. They're all 80 plus. And, they had a sort of a segment where they were telling some stories about how life was then. And they showed this picture of the first ever play to be staged at IIT Madras. They had a still photo of the first ever play, obviously staged in, 1961, 1962, somewhere around that time frame. And the still had these 2 men and one woman. So they were sort of in dialogue and there was a still. And then one of these guys said, but you know what? There were actually no women in our batch. And there was this other old 82-year-old fellow who got up and said, I was the person dressed up as that woman. So in 1959 to 1964, when IIT Madras started, I don't think there were women of any kind. I don't think there were women faculty. I don't think there were women students. Right? It was completely sort of male-dominated university. 30 or 40 odd years later, around the time when I was a student here, and I was a few years behind or after GDS and Chinu and Rohini and others. My batch had about 360 students, 359. We had 13 girls, right? So, do the math, that's about somewhere in the neighborhood of 3%. Right? And that was relatively consistent across batches. So they must have been at the undergraduate level, 13 multiplied by 4 plus or minus 50, 60 girls at the time. And I think all of them plus all the postgraduate students comfortably fit into Sarayu Hostel. Again, and in civil engineering, in the faculty, I don't recall any women faculty at the time. I think the faculty was almost completely male dominated. 30 years down, the story is looking a little better. I'm told that we have 25% of the overall student population are women students now, and the faculty as well. I know in civil, for instance, I think we are a little bit upwards of close to about 15%, I think, in terms of women faculty, and all of that is hopefully changing. So it's very nice that we're slowly, we're still very, very far behind where we should be, but at least slowly there are trends in that direction. And if you look at the rate of increase, it seems to be picking up. So hopefully we'll get to a 50-50 institution, both in terms of student population, faculty, ratios, etc., sooner rather than later. But I think numbers are just one part of the game. The idea is also, what do people do when they are here? So one of the questions I think we ask ourselves is, how many heads of department are women, how many deans are women, right? Things like that. So we've had a few women deans. Right now we have a woman registrar, Preeti Agalyam, from the 1995 batch, of course, is the director of IIT Zanzibar, first ever woman director of any kind of IIT ever, and she's doing a fantastic job. So we're slowly seeing a little bit, but I think there is more to be done. And I've said this many times. I think it's really nice. I believe about 37 of you are going to be awarded the awards today, which is fantastic. But what I'd like everyone to do, and this is not just for women scholars, I think this is for everyone, is to really start dreaming big, right? In terms of, I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, how do you become the most well-known researcher in your field, right? Whatever that field is. How do you then sort of, how do you then become the inspiration for several other people that will follow? How do you again become not only a top-notch academic, but if your aspirations go in that direction, how would you become a top-notch administrator as well? How would you, for instance, get to a point where you're actually sitting as independent directors on the boards of companies, advising people on strategies, not just doing your own work, right, but going beyond. So this is hopefully where we hope, all of you will take your careers to. And I think the whole point of the WLI program is to start that kind of thinking now when you're here. Joyita will say a few words later, but I think she's doing a fantastic job with this program. Thank you very much. You don't have to look very far for inspiration. We have an alumna and former Chief Secretary of the Government of Tamil Nadu, which is about as high as you can get in administration in India. Of course, barring getting to being the Prime Minister, or, of course, there may be a level or two above that. But I think we've got excellent resources and excellent role models to take us all there. Also want to thank, I personally know all of our alumni who've joined the call today, and all of them have been fantastic supporters of IIT Madras, but also fantastic stewards of this particular program. Not only generously funding part of it, but also evangelizing it, supporting it, helping us brainstorm. So again, thank you, Rohini, Chinu, GDS, and I know there are a few others as well who have been supporting this initiative who are not here. So we've got, I think, the Oscar Awards just happened a few days ago, no? So we've got this stellar cast of people. I think we've got fantastic alumni supporting it, we've got fantastic people running it, and I think we've got the most amazing students here. I think I always tell people I'm very happy that I finished my PhD many years ago, because I don't think I would be able to compete with all of you and the kind of work that you're doing. Similarly, again, I'm happy I interviewed as a faculty that many years ago, because again, I look at the resumes coming out today and they're just absolutely fantastic. So I think we've got a great group. It's all up to us to put in wholehearted effort and try to see how we can take not just WLI, but its associated set of initiatives forward, so that IIT Madras, as we know, is a front runner in many fields. I mean, we are supposed to have the most vibrant innovation ecosystem. I think we are supposed to be number one as far as the National Institutional Ranking Framework is concerned, and we've been consistently number one over the years and all of that. I think this is another sphere in which we are sort of leading the way, and hopefully we can reach great heights and inspire several other universities, particularly STEM-related universities, to follow the path that we're setting. So with that, happy Women's Day again to everyone, and welcome to this award ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for setting the context for today's event. Professor Kamakoti, our director, could not be present here today. He conveys his best wishes to all the grantees. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Girija Vaidyanathan, a distinguished public administrator and policy maker. A retired IAS officer of the Tamil Nadu cadre, she served as the Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu from 2016 to 2019, shaping key policies in finance, environment, education, health, and governance. An exceptional academic, Dr. Vaidyanathan was the top graduate in MSc Physics from IIT Madras and later earned a PhD in health policy from the institute. She was also awarded the prestigious British Chevening Gurukul Scholarship at the London School of Economics. Throughout her career, she has played a pivotal role in transformative initiatives such as the Tamil Nadu Integrated Nutrition Project, TNIP, and the Arivoli Iyakkiyam Literacy Mission. As a Secretary of Health and Family Welfare, her efforts significantly reduced maternal and infant mortality rates, making Tamil Nadu a leader in universal health coverage. Her research on public health expenditure has bridged the gap between policy and research, leaving a lasting impact on governance. In recognition of her outstanding contributions, IIT Madras honored her with the Distinguished Alumna Award in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Girija Vaidyanathan.
Good morning, everyone. This place feels like home to me. So I never feel as though I'm giving, this word keynote address is a little daunting. I've never really figured out what a keynote address is. So you'll have to pardon me if I make it very casual. And I think keynote address is a good way to engage people like me who are retired from their full-time profession, and therefore it gives me a chance to read up on things which I normally would not be reading up about. I have a small other point on Women's Day. I know today is not Women's Day, it is the 8th. But I also have a little bit of a problem with that. It's not one day which is Women's Day. I think we should celebrate women on all days, and as we should celebrate all of us. So while I'm never seen in Women's Day celebrations anywhere else, but IIT is always an exception to the rule. So I'm happy to be here because I've also been, very small donor to the a WLI program, but a donor nevertheless, because I believe that this program it has its heart in absolutely the right place. And when I met Dr. Chaitya here and I see all of your faces, I'm convinced that it is bridging the kind of need. Many programs are introduced in name only, but this is one of those programs that is actually taken. I've seen the videos, earlier videos of the grantees, but I'm very sure that this program is one of those, and that's one of the reasons we are here today, to celebrate this program as it is entering its 5th year. It was started in 21, that's how fast time flies. That was the post-COVID or the mid-COVID era, and now we can see the numbers having increased from 17 grantees, if I remember right, to about 37 or 37 in this year. And applications are also coming in, which means that slowly the research scholars, the people here and the students here are understanding that this program exists. So we have not only increased the number of grantees, people wanting the grant have also increased, and I'm happy to learn that it funds not only the basic requirements of research scholars for their completing their theses and publications, but it also helps to do research on the gender, what shall I call it? Gender climate is what it was called. It is a very nice word in the write-up. I've heard of climate change, but this said studying the gender climate at IITM. I think more and more work is required, and that's going to be a bit of what I'm going to talk about. As I said, this is something about singing for your supper. you're called to be a keynote speaker, you better say, much as you are convinced that the audience will be happy to get on with the program, I think it is required to say a few useful words to whoever is in the audience. So let me start off by talking about why do we need, I mean, this question is about women in STEM, and I think you all must have heard about it millions of times. You're all women in STEM. I was a woman in STEM. As I said, in 1981, I passed out of here from the MSc program, but I was one of those who gave up STEM. So I'm one of the, what they call the leakages from the pipeline, because ultimately I went to do other things, but I did not stay on in STEM, and I was just discussing how much the subject interested me, but somehow the career that I chose took me away from the subject. So why women in STEM at all? Why women in leadership at all? I mean, this question is, it seems like you're doing women a favor by saying, hey, let's put women in STEM, but I think it's the other way around. And I'm sure my favorite poet, Maya Angelou, says women are phenomenal. Women are truly phenomenal. And even research, this is not something I'm talking about because, as I said, I'm in an audience where there's more women than men, which is quite rare. So I can get away with saying a lot of things which will probably not be questioned in a research way, but these are all products of research. One of the things that has been found that women historically, socio-culturally have been nurturing, and mostly the nurturing was for households. So, but we still therefore have learnt things like multitasking. I don't know how, you're all much younger than us here, younger than me definitely, but multitasking as a skill is absolutely necessary in whatever profession, especially I've seen it in research because I've sat on the other side of the table, and it is one of the skills that you learn that women have been shown to possess more than men, and they have also been shown to possess, as a corollary of that, the ability to prioritize and allot time. I'm not saying we do that all the time. Definitely all of us will agree there are days when we don't want to do anything, let alone multitask. But as a gender, women have been shown to have better multitasking skills. Similarly, women have been shown to have higher empathy. And this is again documented, and it's not that all men don't have empathy or all women are the only ones with empathy or every woman has empathy. As researchers, you'll understand all these statements mean different things, but empathy is a basic characteristic which is very required in areas like research and science where we normally do not work individually. We work in groups. And that ability to cooperate within a group and be able to get the best out of a group, having led families in the past, I'm not even saying about you, but that skill and that ability is very much with women. So it is definitely a skill which is required for working in the research area or in the STEM workplace also. And thirdly, we definitely see that women have, over time, they have developed, they normally look for what is called the community purpose. This is again, as I said, research that has shown that women tend to place benefits or common good above individual good. And this has been used very often in the area where I work, which is policy, where we give grants or we give household money to women because we think it will be spent for the family good, rather than sometimes to the man who might use it for his individual good. So we have all these three characteristics. So don't you think it should be logical that women should be all over the STEM workplace? But it is not, and you've known that. And India is actually better than most countries because there are more proportion. Ashwin was talking about what is the proportion and how it's increased in IIT. But women in education, in STEM education, India is actually one of the countries which has a higher proportion of women in STEM education. You are the lucky ones that have reached the top of the STEM education pyramid. But women in STEM education in India is much higher than the West. But having reached the STEM education, what he asked about, you don't stop here. This programs like WLI are meant to inspire you to take this education forward. We want to, there is a very good study. Part of the work I did over the last 3 days preparing for the so-called keynote address is looking through the internet and not using ChatGPT. Just search engines are enough. For my generation, that's the way we work. And I found a wonderful study by CSIR in 2022 about women in science. And I didn't even know they could have studied this. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much going on around you. And one of the things they did find was the same thing, that yes, women are in the STEM education, but from there, even to get into the CSIR labs, which is what they'd studied. They'd studied both the students in CSIR institutions and the research scientists in CSIR labs. That is what I call the pipeline, the leakage in the pipeline. Somewhere people were falling apart. Then when you started to look for senior scientists in CSIR, the pipeline just seems to have burst somewhere. Because from let us say 10 to 15% of women, 14% had entered in the workforce. The ones who reached even senior research scientists were very hard to count. So what is happening there? Why, when I just described to you that women, by their aptitude, should suit science? It's not high profile. It doesn't require physical ability or that kind of requirement which you can somewhat say maybe as a woman is not 6 feet tall and a man is 6 feet tall. It doesn't require that. It actually requires the kind of skills that women do have. And why do we then not get them into the workforce? And why do we then not see them in the top in the workforce? Not enough. They're there. There are plenty of mentors. I also work with a program called Women Lift Health, which works on two branches. One which is on women in the policy space, mid-level women in the policy space, to mentor them, which I work on, which I work as a mentor. And there is another one on women in STEM. So I have seen some inspiring women leaders in STEM, but why are they not enough? So this is the question that I'm leaving with you, or I'm asking you to start thinking about. If you want to do the dreaming that Ashwin talked about, you take yourself not here, not at the end of your PhD, not the end of your research career here, but far, far further, then you have to think hard about what happens. Right? The same study, it had a lot of things, but it had another thing which I request you to think about, and that will actually take me to the next part of my speech. One, the fact was 92% of women said they were either moderately satisfied or highly satisfied in their job. 92%, that's very high. Only 8% did not like their job. So one would then think, oh, that's fine, things are working well for them. But when they went down and asked detailed questions of how many of your opinions are respected, how do you feel in the workplace, how many of you are paid equal, and how much of your work is given credit, the numbers were completely different. So 92% of the women were contented with what they call job satisfaction. But when you ask them these specific questions, there were 60% who said they were treated differently from men. So they didn't even consider it something that they should worry about. And this is where I stand, and I'm going to tell you 2-3 things which shocked me. When I was, after retirement, when I had gone for a meeting, I did not put these names to it because I had not read it in the internet, but I met a equally retired friend of mine, and we were talking about gender bias in the civil service. And one would assume again that civil service will not have gender bias, because you've seen us as chief secretaries. You've seen names of women who have been finance secretaries, who have been everything. I think all the glass ceilings have been happily broken by my seniors. So one would assume that there is no gender bias, and I sort of gave that indication to her that, hey, we've been lucky, we've worked, even though we come from a late 50s generation, we've not faced gender bias so much. She turned back at me and said, I also used to think so, but my daughter put me in my place when she said, no, there's gender bias, you just don't know about it. So that's what I literally want to speak, that thought. This is for the men and the women in this room. And this is not saying that something horrible is happening, but this is there's a sociologist called Faye Crosby who nearly 40 years ago put a name to it. She called it second generation gender bias. And it's now there. If you look at Twitter, I found it. Once I put it, I found it everywhere. And it describes, if you think hard, is there gender bias? Your first answer will be no, we are fine. But if you go to the second step, you find that there are all these subtle things that are happening where women are not treated the same way. And this does not intend any harm. Definitely in the short term, it is meant to be even protective in nature. This is a bias which is the entire systemic. It is not just the men in the system. We are definitely not against the men. By the way, the CSIR studies also said nobody wants to work only with women. There were only 4% of women who wanted all women workplaces. All 96% wanted to work in mixed workplaces. It's not the men, it's not the women, it's the system that actually does things as supposedly protective of women, supposedly giving women a better work atmosphere and ending up treating them differently. The examples are things like, hey, you've just had a child. It's better you take a staff function than a line function. Or in research terms, it'll be, I don't think you can lead a team now. Your family situation doesn't warrant it. Or we are going out for dinner in the evening. I know you can't make it. We'll discuss and we'll get back to you tomorrow. And we're having this networking lunch. Do you really want to come? It's all guys, it won't be that interesting. So these are the kind of dialogues that even if I think back in my time, I can find them. I didn't look for them. I actually found them convenient to go home earlier, to get my job done as I saw it. But these are the kind of second generation gender biases. You are much, much younger than me, and maybe you don't feel it, but I see this in the literature. I saw posts on this about a week back in Twitter, or in X, as we call it now. And I do realize it's a truth, so all of us should not only guard against and be aware of normal gender bias, which is now not there. We don't exclude. And there's this feeling that there is, it is the second one, which is more than this and which is closely related to this, is the perception we have of ourselves. Women, and we are not even talking about men. Women perceive ourselves in a different way because, again, we've been brought up socio-culturally, not only in India. I'm saying even in the world, women are seen as all the adjectives I already gave you: caring, empathetic, soft, comfortable. These are the adjectives given to women. A woman is very successful. It's very difficult for men to think of it as likable. Whereas men, those two adjectives go together: dynamic and likable. Dynamic and likable women are normally contradictions. And this is, again, a lot of jokes about this, about what a woman is called and what a man is called if they do the same thing. But in real life, there is a truth. And this forces women. I'm not worried about that part. In fact, that we tend to what we call imposter syndrome, that we are not even entitled to what we have. And we do not raise our voices where we should be raising our voices. When we want to get credit, we don't actually ask for it. We take what we get and we work hard at it, but we don't ask for what we want. And this has been, again, recorded, researched, and this part of women there are two ways women react to this whole perception thing. They either become very masculine in order to get over this, and then the authenticity of the woman is lost, or they say, okay, it's okay for me, this is enough for me. I mean, literally. And these two are things which have been documented, and these are, even in recruitment, it is quite interesting that when a recruitment process goes, they've actually studied recruitment in the West, where they look at when a woman candidate applies, even in the West, the first thing they look at is how she presents herself, much more than the man. And secondly, they're asking, are you married? Do you have children? And the CSIR study also showed that women with young children were the ones who were most stressed and found most difficult to stay on in. And this is not rocket science. But in the recruitment process, nobody ever asks a man, are you married? Do you have children? I don't think it's relevant, or it's not discussed by any recruiters. I'm not telling you to feel disillusioned or diffident because of all of this. I'm saying that you have to stand up for yourself. You have to talk. You have to ask what you want. And you have to say it with politeness, but with firmness, that when credit is due, it must be given to you. And I think that is not being done enough. And that is one of the reasons why women, both in family and in professional circumstances, end up with a slightly lesser output than they could, and that is why they don't reach the highest places. The third one, all these are interrelated points about women. The third and the last one, which I'm going to, and you can also touch your heart and see whether this is true, that women feel a little embarrassed to say, I want this leadership position. You think of how many of you say, like he said, I have a dream is a bit better. It is not, I want to be a leader, I want to be head of this. It doesn't come naturally. You somehow feel it is wrong. So actually, this is something we've been taught. You can do it for purpose. I can do it because my research will be better, because I'll be head. But you will not say it because I want to be head of this. This problem is there in my head also. I did not become chief secretary because I wanted to be. It was thrust upon me, and then I believe I did a fair job of it. But if you had asked me at some point, stopped me and asked me, do you want to be chief secretary, I would have said no. I'd be as happy doing something else which has a equal purpose. So given this, I'm going to end now because as I asked Sweta how long, she said 5 to 10 minutes. It's always better to stay on the other side of how long you should speak. But I want you all to take Ashwin's thought on this day where we are celebrating the entry into the 5th year of WLI. Many more people to talk about what's happening in WLI. But I want you to think about this 2 days before this Women's Day. I want you to think about how we can get over all these things, be aware of second generation bias. And one of the important things is to build a network of mentors. And we are doing this, as I said, for women in the health sphere and in women in the STEM sphere. Very often, women think they are the only ones, and they don't want to talk about these things. They don't want to talk about, I feel excluded in the workplace. I feel if I talk too loudly, the men will think wrongly. My boss will think wrongly of me. So these are things which can only be discussed in what is called a safe space. And I think there are not enough women coming forward to be mentors also, because again, women suffer from a severe paucity of time during the most critical years of their life. And so giving time for things like mentoring is quite difficult. But I request you all and request the institutions to look at these requirements, build networks of women who will support each other, and to see that we don't lose them during the period as they grow. And actually, this whole idea of leadership being not about something personal and private and something which is a kind of reward, but something that you need for the sake of what you're doing. The purpose. That if you lead this team, you'll do a better job. And I think that you have to convince yourself the leadership identity and whatever comes with it has to come along with you. And I think with all these, it will be possible for you to take this education that you have. We're already very lucky to have had this education at this time, and you're so many ways to help you. I hope that you will go on to dream the best dreams and to go on and make an impact which is not only productive for you and not only for all womankind, because again, a step that you take is not only for yourself but is for all society. I wish you all the best on this day, and I hope this program also goes on to more and more success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for those inspiring words and giving us so many thoughts to think upon. We are honored to have you with us here today to express our gratitude. We would now like to invite Professor Ashwin to present Dr. Girija a token of our appreciation for being with us here today. The success of WLI is made possible by the unwavering generosity of our donors. Their belief in the power of women in research fuels this initiative. I'd like to introduce Mr. GDS Ramkumar, one of the major supporters of the Women Leading IITM initiative, also an alumnus from the batch of 1990. I invite Mr. Ramkumar to please address the gathering.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to say a few words. Thank you, Dr. Girija, for your inspiring and powerful words. They resonate. I'm here to introduce today's donor speaker, Chinu Venkatachari. Before I do that, I'm representing the board of IITM Foundation, and it's been a real pleasure working with Dean Professor Ashwin Mahalingam. And I want to say my beloved TA from back in the 1989, Director Professor Kamakoti, who was back then a PhD student. It's really wonderful to work with him again in a capacity and help further the cause of IITM through our work here in the US, working with the Office of Kaviraj. I want to mention a couple of inspiring professors who sort of motivate me to donate. Um, One is my BTech thesis advisor, Professor Kamala Kritivasan. She was, I studied computational geometry with her back in 1989, 90. I had a wonderful chance to meet her in Adyar this past December. Um, she had the courage and incredible fortitude. She was the first head of the Department of Computer Science, head of the department at IITM as a woman, and set an example. Um, I'll also mention Professor Tim Gonzalez, who was the founding director at IIT Mandi. We learned operating systems networking from him, and he was responsible. He was chair of the subcommittee for IIT JEE, where they set up the supernumerary program for IITs that has had a instrumental role in increasing the women enrollment at IIT. Very inspired by his work. We'll also hear from Rohini, who is really had the vision and inspired us at IITM Foundation to set up the WLI program. Now, it's my honor to introduce Chinu Venkatachari, Srinivasan Venkatachari, whom you see on the screen. He is an exemplary alum, 1996 batch, BTech Computer Science. He and his family have been wonderful supporters of WLI, as well as of the Merit Cum Means scholarships programs, as well as I'm sure other programs to come. Wonderful repeat donors. We are very grateful on behalf of IITM, and so off to Chino. Thank you for being here and speaking to the group.
Thank you, Ram. Very, very happy to participate in this event. Congratulations to all of you for getting the award. I'll talk about a couple of reasons but why I got involved in this, and it's so. I did my undergrad in IIT Madras, and then I came here to the US to study in St. Louis, Washington University. And through the years, I've always found the US universities actually have a fairly strong program to reach out to alumni, and there's a strong ways you get to participate and donate and so on. At some point, I used to think, maybe I should be doing this with IIT as well, because in some ways, a lot of the ways we have been given the foundation to go do big things in our work is because of the foundation at IIT Madras. So I think it's very, very important we all recognize that, and especially if you look at the value we get out of it, at the quality of the professors or the systems we have there, what we pay for it is actually, especially then, I don't know actually how it is now, but I feel like you literally got free education. So, very grateful to IIT Madras for making that happen. So if you think back and say, okay, we're, doing all of this stuff here, so we really need to be, giving back to our institution. I have two daughters, so they are, getting a great education. I always think, well, we should do something similar for many, many people, especially in trying to do higher education and really having a vision to do big things. So I was very happy to hear this program, especially the WI program that Rohini has put together. And Ram has been very instrumental in sort of reminding a lot of current alumni that it's not enough to have thoughts of wanting to get connected to the university. You should actually do something. So he has been a tremendous force in getting people together, just making us all think through and actually take some action. So I'm thanks you for that as well, Ram. And in terms of women getting involved in higher education, and also being in leadership positions. One thing I would say is, especially in say the corporate world, where it's not just about okay, we want women participation, so let's try and get women involved. It's not just for the sake of that. What I have seen is every time you make sure there is enough diversity and the right type of mix of people, women and maybe people with various angles of diversity involved, you actually end up building much better things for the society. You actually think about, okay, what are the right things to be building and how do we actually like benefit society as a whole? So in some ways, you should all be thinking about, okay, I want to be in this leadership position. I want to like do these big things, not just for yourself, but actually, if you do that, you will end up benefiting society as a whole as well. So I really, really encourage you to like have that, continue to have that drive. So the fact that you've, uh, gotten here where you're going to be getting this award and actually like pushing further on your ambitions, it already shows how dedicated you are. So I encourage you to keep that ambition up and reach big heights in your life. Thank you.
I request Ms. Rohini Chakravarti to please say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here and really wonderful to hear the talks ahead. As GDS, as Ram mentioned, this was a program that I was part of the IITM Foundation board for about 6 years, and we were thinking about this during the pandemic on, what are some things we could be working on, and it was really formulated during 2020. And Ram and Aruna were the first donors to this program. In fact, they gave the entire scholarship for that first year, and then we got the rest of the program started. So I really appreciate people, everybody here who's continuing the program. This is now the 5th year. I do hope we continue to grow this, as Ashwin mentioned up above. One of the things that I really want to talk about is I loved Dr. Vaidyanathan's keynote. Maybe the two things that I want to mention, which were original goals, and I think we're starting to see it come to fruition. One is this whole leakage or the broken rung problem that we see all across our careers. So it's, we have really talented women coming in through the pipeline, and there are various points in time where that talent is lost or sort of goes off into another, maybe a lesser output lane, as Dr. Vaidyanathan mentioned. And I think a big portion of that is really thinking about not just mentorship, but also sponsorship, being able to, appreciate women as they're achieving things, as they're doing the work, and giving them the confidence that there is success at the end of this pipeline, and really being there for the people who are in that arena and doing the work. And a second point is what Chinu mentioned, which is you need to have a diversity of voices, because these ideas and what becomes part of the agenda, what gets worked on, what is treated as important, depends on who is present in those conversations. I think Chinu works on cutting edge AI. That has been a big part of the conversation in AI on how do you make sure that everybody's interests are represented. And if you don't have people working on those cutting edge topics, you don't have the language to actually represent those interests. So it's really important for us to both be sponsors for people who are working, and also make sure that they have the voice. They are able to bring forward problems that are important, that they see as that is how you include that new knowledge in all of the things we do. The WLI is really meant to be a microcosm of that. It tries to support people at IITM, women at IITM, at a crucial time in their careers. And having seen the effect we've had on over 100 researchers, I think 116 until over the last 4 years, and I'm really looking forward to see the 37 awardees being announced today. we feel like we're achieving something. It's something that the donors really want to do, and we're building a community for all of you. So really appreciate everybody here, and I'm very, very happy to see the 5th year of the WLI program. Congratulations to all the awardees.
A heartfelt thank you to all the donors present here and those who have joined us via the Zoom call for your invaluable support. Next, I would like to call Professor Jayata Bhattacharya from the Department of Physics, Chairperson of WLI 2025, to deliver her address.
Good morning, everybody. So, firstly, a warm welcome to today's ceremony. I have been involved with WLI for quite some time now, and I'm thankful to IIT Madras for having so many, encouraging so many programs for all, levels of women here, from women faculties to women research scholars to PhD scholars, and we are also looking forward to newer programs for postdocs and so on. So there is always, we are having new meetings for new prospects, new funding agencies, so that we can have further programs to support women, so that the leakage that we talked of just now, we don't have that leakage. First and foremost, we have very few women in the field, right? As we see, the percentage is still very lagging behind. We are 50% population. How come we are only 10 to 15% in STEM or even academia or higher studies? And if you look into it, you go to faculties or you go to even leadership positions, the numbers dwindle a lot. So I guess it's high time we look into the reasons this is happening, and I think there are a lot of thoughts that are being put into this, and we are also getting a lot of support. So this particular WLI program, which is for the PhD scholars, support to continue and finish their PhD, I feel it's a very important step, because this is where a PhD student, if she drops out, then the career stops there. And we have trained them to go this far. I think we should continue. So another very important thing that Dr. Girija had pointed out, that it's not enough to think where I end my PhD. You have to think what next, where you are going, because this is only a stepping stone to a bigger future that you have. So this is only a small support that we can give so that you don't leave out, and please go ahead with bigger dreams. We need bigger dreams. We dream, only then we go ahead. And that's why we have so few women in the leadership roles. So the program reads Women Leading IIT, right? So it started off that we need more women in the leadership roles. We need more role models so that we are confident. And PhD is a very crucial time, because age-wise also, this is the period where probably, all marital stuff happen, or maternity leaves come in, and it's very difficult. It's a long process. It's a challenging thing. You're probing, you're doing research on new frontiers where nobody else has probed. So this is a very challenging research-related topic, as well as it's a very challenging phase of life that we go through during this period. So we have to be extra strong. And we all know that, of course, a family is a balance of men and women, but the responsibilities a women carry is very special, very different. And what is expected from a woman is also very different. So we need that strength within us and the support of family and the system. Only then we go ahead. So please, maybe we need to do a little more than men, but we do it, just to keep us in this field and reach our dreams. That is the only thing I want to say, and then I carry on with what we had to give a little presentation. Okay, so I guess I have to thank the IITM alumni for funding this program, because without sponsors, we don't even start a program, right? So my hearty thanks to the whole alumni that is there in US who is supporting for such a good cause. And I think we'll also have a vote of thanks. That's okay. I don't know why. So as we said that this is the 5th year of this particular program, and as you see, the numbers have gone up. So from 17 to now we are 37, but somewhere we have saturated a bit, you see. It was 34, 38, 37. Now, this is typically a bit more than 50% of the application we get, and that is standard for last couple of years. So the point is the number of application has not gone up, because I guess we are hitting the deadline. I mean, the number of women PhD scholars, it's not increasing. So we have to have that number up. Only then this number can go up further. That is what I realized from the applications we have, because now the number of applications across departments, I'll show the slide how it happens, that seems to have saturated for last 3 years. So we need more women students. So here we have, this time we have 37 grantees out of 68 applications. Right now I know only the grantees are there, but there are other students who want to know like on what basis the selection was done and so on. Please convey that they're free to write to me and I'll be replying responses. So every application, just for your knowledge, was assessed by 3 reviewers, independent reviewers, and then we had consolidated the evaluation, okay, and then we had selected. We wanted to support as many scholars as possible. That's why we tried. And so maybe that you have not got what you had applied for, but we have kept it as an open frontier where you can actually apply for an extension after you have done the period, showing what you have achieved during this support period. Okay, if once you achieve, you say what you have done during this whatever months of support we have given you, you can always apply for an extension. Okay. So sorry. Now this will happen twice. Okay, so as you see that there is a spread of grantees from the different departments as well, and roughly, it's some percentage of the number of applications we got from every department. We had the maximum application from chemistry, and then followed by, I see, physics and civil, or biotech also had a lot of applications in, and those are the selected numbers per department. We had not, looked into the department. We just judged. So it's nothing like we wanted to spread it over departments or something. We just took every individual application and assessed them and found out like what sort of support can be given the amount of money that we have. And so as I said that, we want you to finish your PhD. So the maximum amount of budget was allocated for your sustenance. So you have got your basic fellowship for certain period of time. And so as you see, it ranges from 6 months to 3 months. And a few cases, we had also given some consumables. That's it. So WLI doesn't support any travel as of now. We can later think about it. But please, the idea is we support you for a few months for you to wind up your work, okay? Because it's high time that you go to the next step. We have already, exceeded our HTRA period. So this would be the time where we really think, because research is a very open-ended work. If you think, I'll do one more problem and go ahead, that is good. But when we are hitting the deadlines, I think it's high time we relook and wind up the work, and then do the next as we go on. So here, this is the budget that we have allocated, and it all depends on the number of months that the support had been granted, and it ranges from above 2 lakhs per head to to something like 1 lakh or so, and a few of the consumables with a top cap. And And that brings us to this year's grantees. And we see some bright faces. I think all of you are here already. So all the best for your completion of PhD, but please dream bigger and plan your next step already, because it takes time to go to the next level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Let us now take a moment to hear directly from the beneficiaries of WLI 2024. We present a short video featuring the experiences and impact of the grant of last year's grantees.
I thank all the committee members belonging to Women Leading IITM program and also the funders for accepting my research proposal in the first place and for offering me this grant. This grant helped me finish my work. I have submitted my thesis, I've defended my thesis, I've got my doctorate degree, and I am also in the process of writing my paper, second paper, for a peer-reviewed Scopus Index journal.
I'm Reshma R, Research Scholar from Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Madras. I'm working under the guidance of Dr. Soumyendra Curie. I'm truly grateful to be one of the Women Leading IITM 2024 grant awardees. The financial support from this initiative has been instrumental in advancing my research growth. This grant has allowed me to pursue my goals with greater focus and confidence. I sincerely thank the organizers and all the sponsors for their generous support.
I am extremely grateful towards the WLI team for considering me as an eligible candidate and providing me financial support for 6 months. WLI hugely helped me to complete my degree smoothly. Due to their support, I could clear my institute and hostel dues. Most importantly, I could finish my remaining work without any stress. During the period, I published one paper and I completed my thesis writing.
I sincerely thank the WLI team for this grant. The support has been invaluable in reducing my financial burden, thus allowing me to focus entirely on my research. I got this grant for 10 months, and during these 10 months, I was able to complete my seminar talk 2, published one paper in the conference, and submitted one manuscript to the journal. And also, thesis writing is now nearly complete. I'll submit my synopsis soon.
By the time you watch this video, I'm very happy to share that I will have completed my Viva Voce. I feel so proud and honored to be a recipient of WLI Grant 2024. And I'm sure that without this award, the journey of my PhD would not have been successful. Thank you so much once again to the WLI team and the alumni donors for this financial aid.
I finished my doctoral degree under supervision of Professor Devashish Chakravarti in July 2024. Presently, I am a postdoctoral research associate at Texas A&M University, working with Professor Donald J. Darensburg. The WLI Fellowship supported me financially at the time when I was finishing my thesis and was writing my thesis. Due to the financial support, I could fully concentrate on my thesis writing and finish my thesis on time. I express my sincere gratitude to the Alumni Association for introducing such a scheme for the female research scholar.
I took a maternity break during my PhD, and after 5 years, WLI financially supported me in completing my PhD work. With the financial support, I published a conference paper at ICAS 2025 and also completed my journal works. So thanks to WLI for helping us in tough times.
A program of this scale and significance would not have been possible without the dedication and tireless efforts of our WLI committee members. We now take this opportunity to felicitate them and recognize their contribution. I request Professor Ashwin, Dr. Girija and Mr. Kaviraj Nair to felicitate the WLI committee members and recognizing their contribution towards the program. Professor Jayata Bhattacharya, Associate Professor, Department of Physics, IIT Madras. I invite Professor Madangi Krishnamurthy, Associate Professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Madras, to please receive her award. We would also like to acknowledge the other WLI committee members who were not be able to present here today. Professor Indumati Nambi, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering. Professor Gohan Jayaraman, Professor from the Department of Biotechnology at IIT Madras. Professor Sanat K. Kumar, Michael Bycoxby and Charo Gonzalez Bycoxby, Professor of Chemical Engineering, Department of Chemical Engineering at Columbia University. Professor Rupashri Baral, Professor, Department of Management Studies, IIT Madras. Let us now take a moment to reflect on the journey of Women Leading IITM, how it began, the milestones it has achieved, and the vision it continues to uphold. To walk us through this incredible journey, we invite Professor Madangi Krishnamurthy, Professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Madras, to share her perspective.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is still with us as we tell you more about the WLI program. But perhaps my mandate, I'm going to modify slightly. So Professor Indumati Nambi, who has been with the WLI program for a while and has served on the committee, may have a lot more to say about this. I am a recent inductee. I've served on the committee for the first time this year, despite Joyita's efforts to induct me much earlier on. And it's been a true pleasure. So perhaps let me take a leaf from Dr. Girija Vaidyanathan's words as well as Professor Ashwin Malingam's words and speak to you a little bit about what I've learned being on the committee. And let me also speak to my training as a social scientist, where we boil all our problems down to one specific binary, which is structure and agency. All individuals survive and thrive within structures, but in order to do so, they exert agency. They make efforts to make sense of that structure and progress within that. And perhaps being on the committee, we get first-hand insights on how the structure is bearing down upon all of us. We look at the nature of problems that each of you as scholars are combating, and thanks to the generous support of alumni who think about this in a visionary manner, we say, can we make the structure better? What do we learn? The memo's out, no surprises. Gendering is alive and well in the world. Year after year, the data will tell you that women bear a disproportionate share of caretaking, family welfare, child rearing, emotional labor, name it. It does not depend upon you having a family or having children. If you are a woman scholar in the world, you will be called upon to perform the kinds of labor that you're considered to be natural at, right? So perhaps, and this is where I have, this is the paradox, the success of programs like WLI or Women's Day lie in them perishing. Lie in the fact that 10 years from now, we should not need this program for us to thrive as scholars in the world. But let's talk about the dream. 1905, a woman called Rokeya Hussain wrote a book called Sultana's Dream. And in her dream, the feminist utopia that she imagined was called Ladyland, in which men were all confined to somewhere that I'll not talk about. Please read Sultana's Dream. But Ladyland was a feminist utopia where women worked 2 hours a day because they thought that's the proper amount of time to work, since men whiled all of their time in smoking for 6 hours a day. And in those 2 hours, they employed technology to do all kinds of work in imagining a society that was truly progressive, that did not demand human labor to be able to function. Is this the kind of utopia that we are talking about? Not necessarily. Every year I teach a course called Feminist Theory, and I'm at pains in the first class to say, no, we are not against men. Right? So let's not think about this in a pure simplistic men-women fashion, but to ask what prevents women from dreaming. What are the structural constraints that do not allow women to dream, that put limits on you before you can finish the sentence that says, I have a dream? What is the voice in your head that says, I could dream, but, oh, this, right? How do we take away those voices? And that is the work of structure. Increasingly, while serving on the committee, what we found was the nature of the structure is difficult to endure. The kinds of awards that we have made are based on balancing out structure and agency. We looked at the debilitating concerns that women expressed in their applications, along with evidence that they were functioning as agents, even within a constraining structure. And we looked to see how something like WLI can give you that little boost to make you hop over the next obstacle. And structurally, this is how change occurs in the world. So I'm very, very thankful that within structures such as IIT Madras and the broader society, programs like WLI allow for us to work together, allow for women to serve in the sisterhood, so to speak. And I'm privileged and honored to be invited to serve on the committee, and I look forward to continuing this work. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for, the announcement of the Women Leading IITM 2025 grant recipients. These remarkable scholars have demonstrated excellence, perseverance, and leadership in their fields. I request Professor Ashwin and Dr. Girija to please give out the certificates for the students who will be receiving the grant for 2025-2026. I request Shweta Venkat, my colleague from the Office of Alumni and Corporate Relations, to please announce the names of these grantees.
Thank you, Jennifer. Sir, ma'am, can we request you to please come down so that it'll be easier for everybody to... Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you for being here. As I call out your name, please come forward to collect your certificate as a recognition of the grant for WLI 2025. A. Nandini. Akanksha. Aishwarya Murli. Amina Kuti. Anjana E. Ansu Johnson. Bidisha Priyadarshini. Bishnu Priya. Fatima R. Faisal. Gopika S. Madhu. Indra Priyadarshini. Janaki. Ketki Kar. Subdiga. Kanaka Durga Devi. Kala. Kartika. Lini Jolly. Lini is here. Mani Megle. Melody. Mona Lisa. Priyambada. Monica. Narmada N. Rakshita. Rakshita is not here. Reshma. Refia Hussain. Sandhya. Sinduri. Sonali Sahu. Sri Lakshmi Pillai. Sudeshna Pal. Surya S. Nair. T. Divya. Vidya Lakshmi. And Vimala S. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Congratulations for all the grantees for the year 2025 of the WLI program. I would also like to extend a hearty thank you to all the guides who have been part of this particular program and who have helped your students in getting this grant. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll give it over to Jennifer right now.
Thank you, Shweta. As we come to the end of this special occasion, to conclude, I invite Mr. Kaviraj Nair, CEO, Office of Institutional Advancement, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, everyone. It has been an absolute pleasure sitting in the audience today and listening to all the speeches and watching the grantees getting the certificates and all of that. I think this has been such an inspiring initiative by IIT Madras to get this going, and the impact of this is definitely going to be visible in the next few years. First of all, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. Girija Vaidyanathan, former Chief Secretary of the state of Tamil Nadu, for her gracious presence here today and for the inspiring and powerful words. It resonated with all of us, and it's quite evident that, ma'am, you are so passionate about the topic from all the anecdotal examples that you gave out. It resonated very well with all of us in the audience. Thank you for those powerful speech. And our sincere gratitude to the director who communicated his greetings to the event through Jennifer, and to Professor Ashwin Mahalingam, who is the Dean Alumni and Corporate Relations, to the donors who are represented by our eminent alumni, GDS Ramkumar, Rohini Chakravarti, and Srinivasan Venkatachari, Chinu Venkatachari, who stayed up till this time and actually, communicated their best wishes and their messages for this event. And thank you so much to Professor Jayita Bhattacharya, who is the WLI 2025 chairperson, and for the committee members comprising Professor Matangi, Professor Indumadi, and other senior professors here. And thank you to all the recipients of this award who have congregated here today to receive the same, and to my colleagues in ACR office who made this event happen. I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today. With this, we would like to conclude the program. I will have a few announcements before we leave. We have a high tea set up in the pantry next to the ICSR parking. We request everybody to please come over there for the high tea. After which, we also request for all the awardees of WLI, all the grantees here with us today, we request you to take about 2 minutes of your time before you go to the pantry. We're taking down the testimonials, also part of my job of not only making sure that the program happens. So we request you to just take 2 minutes before you all depart for high tea to please come to the center lawn area inside the ICSR building. We already have our camera set up. Satyam, he's wearing a white shirt and glasses. You'll be able to find him. He's waving hi. So you'll be able to go there, and he will just take a few quick bites from you, and then we will move on. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Girija. Before we leave, can we request all the grantees to please come forward? We'll take a group picture. The committee members as well. The guides who are here with us today, professors, to also please join us for this picture. It will look really nice for the picture if you have the certificates in your hands as well. We request everybody to please come forward. We can have a few people also on stage if you. I think you. We can come in the front, ma'am. There's still space in the front. Naima.